Pennsylvania Democrats have a lot to answer for after Kennett Township's former top municipal official was charged on 138 criminal counts for stealing over $3 million from taxpayers. Lisa Moore then used this stolen taxpayer money to live an extravagant lifestyle, including taking trips to Italy and France, taking shopping sprees for designer clothes and jewelry. It's also very interesting. This looks like part of a much bigger trend, as there have been a lot of political arrests in the state of Pennsylvania. Democrats are actually worried about their chances in 2020 because so many Democrats have been indicted, arrested, or sentenced just in the last year. Regarding these specific charges, the public was baffled by the strange response from Kennett Democrats who linked to news of this arrest of Lisa Moore from Kennett Township, the township manager who stole over $3 million. Kennett Democrats, for some reason, are actually thanking the township supervisors that allowed this fraud to go on until it was finally reported on eventually by a township bank staffer who notified township supervisors that the bank's fraud department had discovered a number of suspicious transactions on township accounts. So Kennett Democrats are probably not happy with the way the public is responding to their attempt yesterday to thank these township supervisors, 3 Democrats, Whitney Hoffman, Richard Leff, and Scudder Stevens, for their, quote, leadership, as Kennett Democrats have described it. Even the commenters are asking what leadership. Commenters saying, this is outrageous, where were the bookkeepers and accountants for 6 years? Another commenter mocking the Democrats' post asking leadership. From my understanding, the manager had a rubber stamp of one of the supervisors, one of these Democrats' signatures, in order to bypass the 2 signature signing requirements that was set up to prevent this type of thing. I would think that even if that was allowed, for expediency purposes, for instance, you would want to ensure after the fact to scrutinize the expenditures that bore your signature. Where was even the simplest of oversight? Awful, and of course the taxpayers bear the cost for that lack of oversight. These supervisors, these 3 supervisors, Democrats, claiming that they didn't know what was going on. Kennett Democrats trying to actually frame them as heroes or something in this investigation, and the public not buying it at all. So how could this theft by this township manager go on for years without these 3 supervisors being aware that anything was happening, as they claimed? Some more interesting info we can look at on the supervisors in a moment, but looking at the charges against Lisa Moore, most recent update. New article here opens saying the township manager of a Chester County municipality was charged by the county district attorney with embezzling more than $3 million over the course of years to buy designer clothes and jewelry and trips to Europe. Lisa Moore, 46 years old, allegedly stole millions since being promoted to the top municipal job in 2010. The money was intended to pay for employee benefits, land preservation, and the police department, among other township expenses, according to the district attorney. Quote, this case is all about greed, said Chester County District Attorney Tom Hogan in a statement. He went on to say, quote, Moore was well compensated with an annual salary of over $100,000, but she decided to live the high life funded by the taxpayers of Kennett Township. Moore worked for Kennett since 1997 and rose through the municipal ranks. After her promotion to township manager, she had a salary of more than $120,000 a year. Her alleged embezzlement included more than one scheme. They include a picture here of Lisa Moore walking into court in Chester County from November 10th, 2019. They say that sometimes Moore paid herself directly from township funds by inflating the hours that she worked, according to the complaint. Other times, the complaint says, Moore allegedly paid herself and recorded the payments as if the money was going to contracted vendors. In addition to those alleged schemes, the DA said that Moore also charged nearly $700,000 to the township credit card. Quote, this case is a reminder that a determined insider can always find a way to steal using their knowledge of internal procedures and policies, Hogan said. He also said, however, this case is also a reminder that public officials who steal from taxpayers eventually will be exposed, arrested, and punished. She hid her tracks in a variety of ways, in some cases laundering the stolen money by shuffling payments through multiple township accounts, investigators said. At one point, she allegedly created a sham marriage, forging documents to provide more than $50,000 in medical benefits to a friend. Moore has been charged with 138 criminal counts, including theft, forgery, receiving stolen property, and tampering with public records. She was released after posting a $500,000 bail. Now, to again go back to these three Democrat township supervisors who have tried to claim that they didn't know what was happening, there are a lot of questions, and they did end up hiring a media consultant, which carefully fielded and filtered questions from the public. Big questions like, how could something like this get past all three of you? How much money was stolen? They still didn't know this at the time. We now have a roughly $3 million estimate. How long has this been going on? Your auditor didn't detect anything on the audit reports? Again, these Democrats had to defend themselves, and they seemed very angry that anybody would question how they let this go on. This article says no matter the length of distance Stevens, Leff, and Hoffman, these township supervisors, no matter the length of distance they profess to being removed from the fingerprints of this investigation, they are the most visible faces of the township and therefore linked to this potential crime by virtue of association. It's an accusation that Stevens does not enjoy hearing. He said, quote, if you want to speculate and look for numbers to help your conspiracy, there is none, this Democrat supervisor said, over suggestions that he is linked to the scheme. He went on to say, I understand the suggestion that anybody who is remotely connected to the event gets splashed by whatever it is that is tossed in the pond. I understand that, and at some point, not now, we will be able to review all of the details of what happened and the significance of it. Another one of these Democrat township supervisors who was questioned about this fraud had a similar response, saying, quote, anytime something goes wrong, there is a natural inclination for any of us to act, Leff said. Coming into the supervisory roles, we had put more in place in terms of processes, but when you find out those processes aren't followed, the question is, how do you find out how that happened? That's what we're doing now. This article also adds how in May, Leff's opponent in an upcoming election wrote an opinion piece entitled Kennett Township Supervisors, a Lack of Leadership and Transparency. In it, he railed against his opponent's contribution to a false sense of openness and transparency that included Leff's disregard for tax increases and out-of-control spending. Tower also included criticism of how the supervisors were handling the fraud investigation. He said, quote, the board made her, Moore, look guilty by their public action, which may well become a problem on its own. We are left with no understanding as to the scope of the problem or how long it has gone on. Was it for a few $1,000s or $500,000? Surely they would give us a range. After all, it is our tax money. So much for transparency. So we've learned that the estimate now is actually much higher. It's $3 million. And for a long time, the township supervisors did not want to allow this info to get out, as he heads into what will likely be a November election day, guaranteed to have the fraud investigation hanging over him like an albatross. Leff, a Democrat who was elected to his first 6-year term in November of 2013, said he will place the focus of his campaign on the township's accomplishments during his tenure. So again, to look at this post from Kennett Democrats saying leadership is measured by what you do when something bad happens on your watch. Thank you, Kennett Township Supervisors Whitney Hoffman, Richard Leff, and Scudder Stevens for your leadership. This statement doesn't really hold up. As commenters are pointing out, please leave a comment and tell me what you think about this case, the charges against Lisa Moore, and the claims by these 3 Democrat township supervisors that they had no idea what was happening, or the bizarre Kennett Democrat Facebook post thanking these supervisors. A lot more going on in Pennsylvania recently as well, along with these other arrests, political arrests we've been following on this channel. Leave a comment, tell me what you think about anything going on. Also, in the video description are links to my Patreon and PayPal accounts where you can support the channel directly. Patreon.com/realityreader and PayPal.me/realityreader can help the channel directly there. Thanks again, a big thank you to everybody that has been sharing these videos and sharing the channel to help get the information out there. I'll follow up soon. Thanks again.